Have you ever wondered why the guitar is tuned the way it is? The point is not to show you how to tune, but rather how the way that the guitar is tuned reveals a whole lot about the structure of our beloved instrument. Now, using the cheat sheet that I'm about to show you, a self-guided system emerges that you can use completely on your own in order to practice, quiz, and advance yourself. I'm going to reveal exactly what this system is, how the circle of fifths creates the system, and how the guitar is tuned to the circle in reverse. Most importantly, perhaps, why no highbrow theory is required in order to use this system at whatever level you're currently at. It really isn't how much we learn, it's how much we use of what we learn. I want to encourage you to think about the fingerboard in a different way right now. Instead of thinking about the fingerboard as this elaborate network, forget all of that for a moment, and just think about the fingerboard right now as a pair of axes. Simplify. The best you can be is simplicity. The guitar is tuned along a vertical axis. For instance, if you just pluck the open strings, low E, A, D, G, B, and high E, you didn't move along the fingerboard at all. You stayed in the same region. You certainly didn't travel along the fingerboard in any horizontal fashion. So if the guitar is tuned along a vertical axis, let's look visually at those alphabet letters of the open strings along the circle of fifths. Now notice where E is. Once you find it, move backwards, one counterclockwise spot at a time, one only. Notice that we get A, D, and G. Why aren't those the notes of your fifth, fourth, and third strings? But we still need to get to the B and high E strings. And moving back one more counterclockwise spot from where we left off, you'd be forgiven for thinking everything falls apart at this point. There is no C string, but there is a B string. Now, where is B located on the circle? We'll find it first and then we'll make sense out of it. Once we've located B on the circle of fifths, look at what happens when you move back one counterclockwise spot from there. It lands us back home on E, right where we started. The takeaway is that the guitar is tuned primarily counterclockwise along this circle. There is one readjustment that's required between the G and B strings. That's where the counterclockwise pattern appears to be broken on first glance, but here's the kicker. These 5 notes represented on the circle of fifths are the open strings of the guitar. They span from B through G. If we'd started from B and moved counterclockwise exclusively, we would wind up with the same cluster of notes. If we weren't trying to go in order and we just looked at the notes unto the notes, from B counterclockwise back through G, we have 5 notes, and those are the 5 notes we need to make sense of the open strings on the guitar. Now notice I just said these 5 notes, not 6. The lowest and the highest strings are the same. They're just in different octaves. So once you've learned the low E string, by default, you've learned the high E string. To track this on the circle every time, here's the pattern that you can follow. When you move straight down from low to high, the note on the second string is always one clockwise spot away from where you began at the lowest string. Then it's counterclockwise as usual to finish things out. You have to start on the lowest string for this to work consistently across all 6 strings. You can use this to help yourself master more of the fingerboard almost from day one. For instance, if you don't already know the name of the notes on every single fret on your guitar across all 6 strings, you're going to use this system to learn them. For example, if you put a capo on the first fret, then the low E string is now effectively a low F string because first fret, lowest string is the note F. Starting on F, track the pattern. Using the circle of fifths to track this, you'll find F, B flat, E flat, A flat. Now you got to break the pattern. Okay, where did I start? F. And from there I'll go clockwise one spot. I'll wind up at C. And then counterclockwise back to F up top. This works across all frets if you just start on whatever the name of the note is on the lowest string and track the circle. Knowledge is good, but if we don't use it, then we hide behind the knowledge. Now you get to choose what you want to do with the collection of any of the notes contained in groupings on this circle. If you don't really know all of the names of the notes everywhere on the guitar yet, just work through all 6 strings one fret at a time and follow the pattern we just went over. Or suppose you already know that, but you get lost on your pentatonic patterns. Have you ever looked at a pentatonic scale as literally nothing more than a series of ascending fifths? Clockwise motions on the circle represent fifths. So for example, start at C and go clockwise 4 times on this circle. We get C, G, D, A, and E. Now if you take those notes and you just reorder them, you get C, D, E, G, and because the musical alphabet ends at G, you now have to circle back to get the last note and finish up with A. That's it. Now play it. A really easy reference for that sound is to think of the intro to My Girl by the Temptations. To turn that same pool of notes into a minor pentatonic scale, just go back to the first alphabetic letter that precedes the major root. To give an example to that, if you had C major and your pool of notes were C, D, E, G, A, C, once we had the major pentatonic, ask yourself what alphabetic letter comes before C? Well, of course, A. So take those same notes and reorder them alphabetically starting on A. Now you get A, C, D, E, G, and you can finish up with the repeated A for a classic minor pentatonic sound. The minor pentatonic is Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King. You can also find minor pentatonics by tracking the circle of fifths, simply by going counterclockwise, just like when we use the circle to learn our fingerboard. It's the exact same pattern. Suppose you want E minor pentatonic. Remember how we tracked E, A, D, G, B, E? If you reorder those notes to E, G, A, B, D, and E, there's your E minor pentatonic scale. Of course, anything can be moved along this circle. For A minor, you'll just track A, D, G, C, and then you've got to relocate. You'll find E, remembering that that's just one clockwise spot away from where you began originally at A. And finally, you can return counterclockwise home and you have another A. So now you've got that pool of notes. You reorder them alphabetically from the root that you want, in this case A, and you get A, C, D, E, G, and then you can repeat the A 1 octave up. At every point, find these notes on the fingerboard. Play them in as many places as you can so that it's an act of self-discovery. That way it isn't something that you learn, and it is something that you discover. So as you begin to see it, then it's yours. For instance, map out the notes for E minor, A minor, D minor, G minor, and C minor pentatonics. Then map them out in the open string region of the fingerboard. That'll give you every minor pentatonic box shape. If you replace the open string with your first finger to move any of those up the fingerboard to any spot, all of those minor pentatonic shapes are movable. Those are your pentatonic shapes on the fingerboard. There aren't any more. There are just 5, and you just played them. All of the other scales, modes, relative minors, and more exotic scales are also there for the taking too. I'll give you one quick secret about using the circle to learn all your major scales as well. Just take your major pentatonic pattern that we established and add in the 2 notes on the outside perimeters of the circle. Now C major pentatonic will add in the notes F and B. Reorder alphabetically from your root, and there's your C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Also known as Ionian in theory school speak, but enough about scales. Do you want triads? Draw an equilateral triangle on the circle. Each corner should be 4 spots away from the other. Because there are 3 corners and 12 notes total on the circle, you could rotate that triangle around the circle 4 times and you'd have touched on every possibility. To get any major triad, add in the note that's directly clockwise of the root you want to build the triad on. Then you'll remove the opposite corner of the triangle. For instance, take the equilateral triangle between C, E, and A flat. To turn it into a C major triad, look 1 clockwise spot away over from C and you will find G. From there, look to the opposite corner, you'll find A flat and collapse the triangle. A flat has now been deleted. So you're left with 3 notes only at this point, C, G, and E. You can reorder them to experiment with different voicings and inversions of the triad, but in all cases, it's a C major triad. Whether you go C, G, E, C, E, G, E, G, C, G, C, E, any order of those notes are the notes of a C major triad. Do you want minor triads? Just take any corner of the triangle and move counterclockwise to find the root of your new minor triad. Then collapse the opposite corner just like before. For example, to get the notes for an A minor triad, go counterclockwise from E and you'll see A. Since you want an A minor triad, that is the correct note. Now scan to the opposite corner of the triangle and delete the A flat, leaving you with the notes C, A, and E. Reorder the notes to A, C, E, and you have your textbook guitar triad on top of a Mel Bay chord. A minor in Mel Bay Guitar Method Volume 1. Diminished triads and 7th chords are all in there too, and a whole lot more, but we'll leave all of that for another time. Now the thing is, everything I've just told you is completely useless, because there's one thing that if you don't fix, everything I've told you won't work. Playing great is more concept than anything. If you've got the right idea, then as you train, the muscles become like a reflex, and those reflexes respond to the music. It's the reason great players, they don't think at all when playing. Even if you've trained perfectly, but your image is that you haven't gotten the hang of it and you'll never get there, then the reflexes won't respond no matter how well you've been trained. So watch this video next to start developing yours over a 12-bar blues.